60 electronic jammers. It's very interesting. I think your plan seems feasible. Major General Islam nodded and said yes. For him, the plan to win a few Indian Su-30s is undoubtedly feasible. He needs a few Su-30 wrecks too much to debunk this Indian myth. Since they're so interested in the dam, we'll teach them a lesson, but I can't guarantee that the dam will be safe. You know the Jhelum Dam is so close to the border, it's actually only a short distance from Adampur's airport runway. 200 kilometers, and it's only 300 kilometers from Harawa. That said, no matter what we try, it's very difficult to keep the dam from being hit. Its only chance is on itself. I believe the Indians have not yet destroyed it aviation bombs. Of course I know that. The water level has been controlled, and the downstream population has been evacuated to a certain extent. In short, the Prime Minister himself has prepared for the worst. Even if the Indians' despicable plan succeeds, they will all I can get is the condemnation of the whole world. I just want to know when your people will be able to fight. Right now, my people are training with the newly arrived Chinese Su-27 fighter jets. I have to wait until my young people are familiar with the long-distance entanglement with this kind of aircraft. When your surface-to-air missiles are in place, I think it will be almost the same. The time is so short, is it really okay? Of course there is a problem. In normal times, I think 6 months of adequate training is necessary, but now it's a wartime, so I can only focus on getting rid of radar tracking from a long distance and start practicing. I won't waste time on the ground. Analyzing the details, I hope this can be done with half the effort. But you know, this small batch of Su-27 aircraft provided by China is very different from India's Su-30. At least India's Su-30 MKI uses a more superior radar, and not every escape tangential to the radar beam will be successful, and we don't really know at what distance the maneuver will work, so the risk is very high. Well, I know what's going on. The Major General continued to nod. He was also a pilot not long ago and knew how dangerous this kind of action was. If it is far away, the escorting Su may 30th not pay attention. If it is too close, it will be difficult to get rid of the tracking of the opponent's phased array radar. It must be admitted that there is still a big technical gap between the Raiden fighter and the Su-30 at long distances. The Indians will soon send out a large fleet to continue to attack the dam. It is impossible to send those sneaky MiG-27s, but I don't know how the Indians will match their fleet, but according to common sense, the Su-30 fleet will be in general. There will be several with anti-radiation missiles, so even if we can induce them to chase into the deep mountains west of Carrion, your FD-2000 is not completely safe, and the boot time must be controlled very precisely. I know that. I will disperse the radar and missiles. Well, the area surrounded by mountains on 3 sides is the most suitable for hiding these missiles. You know, such mountains can well interfere with the reconnaissance of the early warning aircraft on the ground, and I will be responsible for the enemy aircraft. Lure to the head of the fire control radar. Of course, I have an additional request. Sammy began to make a bid to his superiors. Okay, whatever you say will do. Listen to my old friend, I believe India will do everything in their power to protect their Su-30s from being shot down, so you have to stay in the air and take command in combat. What are you worried about? The Major General did not understand the interconnection of Sammy's words for a while. I'm worried that they will deploy some special technical equipment to suppress ground communications. So at that time, you must be in an early warning aircraft in the air, not an underground command post. No problem, I will be in Peshawar with you at any time. Empty. Major General readily agreed. As Sammy expected, after the Indian Air Force's attack on the MiG-27 was frustrated, the Air Force Chief of Staff Bifreda is actively preparing for a new round of attack. He is planning to follow the advice of Defense Minister Singh. A large group of aircraft was dispatched to completely destroy the Jhelum Dam. The anti-aircraft fire near the dam is known to be weak, and there is not much ground radar in the direction of Gujarat, but the real scary part of the dam is its own concrete structure. Judging from the few attacks on the dam in the history of war, it takes more than 2 tons of bombs to carve out a gap in the front of the dam that can damage its structure, but now there are only 500 kilograms of ordinary bombs in India's arsenal. Whether 10 500 kilograms bombs dropped at the same time can be equivalent to a 5-ton bomb is still unknown. Even if it can be calculated like this, the most powerful Su-30 must be dispatched to mount 10 such low-level bombs at the same time. Block bombs. Biafreda had been unaware of the need for the attack, but Singh told him that the success or failure of the attack determined the timing of the army's ground operations. Biafreda was not as good at resisting his superiors as the Army Chief of Staff Prasad. He decided to follow the order without question and put the most elite technical equipment into the operation, including A-50 early warning aircraft and a newly modified completed standoff jammer. This is India's only electronic warfare aircraft with superior performance. He plans to arrange the plane, which can interfere with ground communication and radar in all frequency bands, on the Indian side of the border to prevent the baby Su-30 from being ambushed by ground-to-air weapons. If the other party's warning radar is turned on, this modified electronic jammer can immediately detect the emission source and immediately launch targeted electronic spoofing, which is much better than full-band jamming. Israeli experts boast that they are familiar with the radar signal characteristics of all Russian-made or Chinese-made surface-to-air missile systems, so the interference is definitely targeted. According to this calculation, the aircraft can suppress the distance of the target detected by the warning radar within tens of kilometers, so, the enemy's fire control radar has no chance to turn on at all, and it poses almost no threat at all. Of course, this aircraft cannot interfere with the air fleet, but this is enough. Biafreda has reserved 6 Su-30 MKIs as escort formations for this attack. These aircraft will be fully equipped with air-to-air weapons. At that time, they are specially responsible for the repulsion of future Pakistani fighter jets. He expects that as long as ground communication is disrupted, Pakistani fighter jets will lose their command and guidance and become no threat. All plans have been made, and the Chief of Staff handed over the operation to the 31st Lion Squadron. This squadron has a long history and is well trained, but since the start of the war, there has been no chance to hit the enemy aircraft or ground targets. Now is the time to pull this ace out for training.